how is it on the other side of the House?
It's different. Look, we've just had a bad election defeat. It is very different coming back to the House of Commons in opposition, but it's very important that we have a period of reflection. We have to take this result, obviously, with humility. We respect, we recognise that the Labour government has a mandate, but we also have to be there, being a very effective opposition, scrutinising what they do, holding them to account for what they deliver, and that's what we will do.
How much sympathy do you have for parents who've got children at private school who now are going to have to pay 20% more because you guys are not in office, and that's what Labour are going to do, VAT?
Well, look, we debated this extensively during the election campaign. I think it's a wrong-headed policy to impose taxation on education for multiple reasons. It will impact families with children with special educational needs disproportionately, some faith groups disproportionately, and also there's going to be a displacement effect of some families are not going to be able to afford this, and children will then have to move into the state sector, and in some cases that'll be to schools where there isn't enough space actually to accommodate all children, and that will make it harder. I mean, class sizes would rise. It would mean it's harder to get, for others to get their child into.
Mean more money for the state sector.
Well, you need the space too. It would mean more money for the state sector, but that, of course, money has to be funded out of taxation. And we don't know. Nobody knows exactly what the financial effect of this will be. We do know some families will not be able to afford to continue an independent education funded by parents, sometimes grandparents, and they may not be able to do that in future. Some of those will end up coming into the state sector. We don't know how many. You can't know how many until it happens because there isn't a precedent. But we do know there will be that effect, and we do know there will be a strain on state schools in some parts of the country.
OK, we expect that to come into place in January of next year. That's certainly the date that's being hinted at. Before that, you've got a leadership election. We've heard James Cleverly already fancies his chances. Would you vote for him?
I'm going to listen to all the candidates.
No.
I think we've got... No, look, we're going to have very talented people in the Parliamentary Conservative Party. We don't know yet who all the candidates will be, but there'll be multiple candidates. I think it's very important. I will not be one of them.
Just checking.
But there will be multiple candidates. It's really important we hear from them all, and not only to hear about them as individuals, but that we have this time as a period of reflection, making sure we learn every lesson there is to be learned from this election campaign that's just gone, but also from the years preceding, making sure we're using it as a time not just to listen to each other and talk to each other, but listen to the public and what they want from their right of centre party, from the Conservative Party, an important part of our democratic make-up. And we have to have that full discussion. That's why I think it's right, and I've absolutely been one of those who's saying we need to make sure we have enough time for this leadership contest. It shouldn't be a rushed thing. And when we look back in a year's time, nobody will say it made any difference, whether it concluded in September or October or November. The important thing is to have that debate and make sure we take time to get the right answer.
So you haven't decided who you would like to see in the race. So we've heard from Suella Braverman, and she says that you need to move away from the centre ground. Is that something that you would be looking for your leader to do?
So, look, we have, broadly speaking, a two-party system. It doesn't always work out exactly like that, but broadly speaking, you need a broad-based party of the centre-left and you need a broad-based party of the centre-right. And we are the broad-based party of the centre-right. That means you have to appeal to a range of people. You cannot win elections by going to one side or the other. You have to have a proposition which takes in a large part of the election, a large part of society, and make sure that you have a compelling proposition.
That's not Suella Braverman, is it?
To put to the public. I'm not getting into discussions about kind of individuals and who might not be in the leadership contest, because that time is to come. That time is to come, but it's not here just yet. Nominations haven't closed yet, and we'll see who that range of people is, and we'll have the debates about the future direction of the party and how we can best serve our country, because that ultimately is what it's about. That is why people like me and my colleagues, is why we came into politics, is to do the best we can for our country, and we have a responsibility as one of the two big parties to make sure that we are absolutely focused on people's priorities and having a having a strong programme to get us back into government in the future.
What do you make of Keir Starmer suspending the whip for 6 months? In other words, those 7 MPs are not Labour MPs for 6 months now because they voted against one of his policies. Well,
that's fair enough. If you're in a political party and you vote against your party, in this case they voted for an SNP motion, you've got to expect to lose the whip.
Can he not just get a slapped wrist, given that he's got such a large majority, it didn't make any difference?
Well, it's not for me to give advice to Keir or indeed the government the government chief whip. But I mean, what I'm saying is, I think it's reasonable to say if you're in a political party, you've got to stick with that programme. And if you don't like that programme, then go. But otherwise, you work together. Clearly, there is a range of views in the Labour Party. It may be that on this and other subjects, some of those differences may well come more to the fore. They've certainly got some difficult decisions to make ahead on things like the public finances, on taxation. They have known for a long time what's in the public finances. It's all there in the Office for Budget Responsibilities reporting, but so far they've managed to sort of dodge a lot of those questions during the election campaign, and subsequently they won't be able to dodge them forever.
No, they will not, that's for sure. What they have decided on already is the Bibi Stockholm, where it's basically a floating, let's call it a floating hotel, should we, where not a very particularly nice place to be. It's where we were asking asylum seekers to wait while we decided whether or not they could stay in this country. That is going to be sent from whence it came. Thoughts on that?
Well, that vessel, the Bibi Stockholm, was part of our approach to accommodation. It's quite a substantial facility to accommodate quite a number of people. I think the government have said that by January, I think the contract will not be renewed, and I think they're going to have achieved some very substantial
savings.
The savings are also very substantial bringing down of processing backlogs by January. Well, let us see what they manage to do. Fundamentally, we think on this question of deterring illegal immigration, the fundamental thing is you need a deterrent, and that's what the Rwanda plan was all about. This government has scrapped the Rwanda plan without coming back with an alternative. They didn't even have a parliamentary vote on it. And we think you need that deterrent.
They ultimately. Mandate. They said that's what they were going to do at the election. People voted in.
I said that right at the start, and I don't deny that at all. The government absolutely has a mandate. It has a big majority. We also have responsibility as the opposition to scrutinise what they do, to examine it, to monitor it, to call out when we think mistakes are being made, but most of all to hold them to account for what they actually deliver.
OK, Shadow Minister, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.